Good morning. Welcome to Undisputed. I'm Jenny Taft, and I am joined by Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great. Doing great. Jenny.
So, we had an earthquake here this morning in Southern California. It wasn't a big one, but it was a jolt. It knocked me right off my treadmill. And I want to remind everyone, remember what happened the last time, about a year ago, we had an earthquake. About an hour later, Kawhi shocked LeBron by signing with the Clippers. So maybe this is an omen. Maybe tonight Kawhi is going to again shock LeBron James.
There was an earthquake last night, too, when I saw this top 100 list.
Really?
Yeah, that was an earthquake, too. Yeah.
You know, Skip, that is a really good point. It really has been a year. You know what?
Thank you. Somebody noticed.
That makes a lot of sense. We got NBA back, but we have been talking about this NFL top 100 list, and as Shannon mentioned, there was a big shocker. The top 10 of the NFL top 100 players list was revealed last night, and you might be surprised by this one. Just 1 year removed from a 5,000-yard and 50-touchdown season. Patrick Mahomes came in 4th overall and was the 3rd quarterback behind Lamar Jackson at 1, and Russell Wilson at 2. Aaron Donald slid into the 3rd spot. Shannon, are you surprised Patrick Mahomes was ranked behind Lamar and Russ?
I'm shocked, but I guess I shouldn't be shocked, Jenny, considering what you just read. But I am, Skip. They're under no guys. And Skip, and that's not to diminish anything, because I think Lamar Jackson deserved to win the MVP last year. You look at the season he had, you look at his team success, you look at they broke the rushing title for a team. Lamar Jackson last year deserved to be the MVP. So we're not debating that. That's not the issue. The issue, what we have before us, who is the best player in the NFL? It's Patrick Mahomes. If you redraft right now, it says, okay, everybody, you get one player. You can have any player you want. It's hard for me to see a scenario. Patrick Mahomes isn't number one on the lion's share of the ballot. I'm going to say 30 of the 32, 31 of the 32 ballots, he will be first. Maybe Seattle says, you know what, we like what we got in Russ. He's been here for a decade.
They might.
We're good with that, Skip. But when you look at what Patrick Mahomes has done over the last 2 seasons, as Jenny mentioned in the read, Skip, a guy finished 4th in the top 100 in 2019, considering he's the 2nd guy to ever throw for 5,000 yards and have 50 touchdowns in the very same season. And he finished 4th. So, Skip, and I don't want to get too bogged down in when the voting goes out, because I read an article, it says the voting goes out like late November, early December, around the Pro Bowl ballots. And then I went back, and Steve and I, my chief research guy, we saw an article said it went out sometime between November and April. If this ballot went out after the playoffs and Patrick Mahomes is not number one, everybody that voted is a fool. Patrick Mahomes' team came from behind in 3 games by double digits, and they won every game by double digits. He averaged 300 yards passing, and in 3 games he had 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and he had a QBR of 89. That's fact. So for someone to say there are 3 other players that they would rather have, the players, and look, Skip, I've been a player, but for someone to say that Patrick Mahomes is the 4th best player in the NFL is utterly ridiculous, considering what he's done over the last, if you just take the last 2 years, if you just take and I get it, Skip, if the voting went out in November, remember, Skip, he missed 2 games and basically 3/4 of another game on a quarterback sneak. He injured his knee. So if the voting went out in November, because for the better part of the season, it was Lamar and Russ. Lamar and Russ. Who's going to get this thing? And then the last 4 games of the season, Lamar took off and he didn't look back. He went to Seattle, did a number on Seattle, and when he came out here, Skip, to the Coliseum, it was over. What he did that Monday night, Skip, it left no doubt in anybody's mind who was going to be the MVP. The question was, is he going to win this thing unanimously? Because, man, but Skip, for someone to say Patrick Mahomes, given what he's done over the last 2 seasons, a regular season MVP, a Super Bowl MVP, 5,000 passing yards, 50 touchdowns, and his first game back out of injury. Let this sink in for people. His first game back from injury, it was on the road in Tennessee. He throws for 446 and 3 touchdowns. We saw what that defense did to Tom Brady at home. We saw how confusing that defense was for Lamar Jackson. And he went for 446. And just for good measures, he said, y'all thought I was playing. I'm going to get you at home. I'm going to spot you 10 and then do a number on you. Skip, it's outrageous that this guy was voted fourth because he should have been nothing but one.
Okay, back to your original point. I'm pretty sure, because of all I have read and all I have heard, the ballots went out around Thanksgiving. They're on pace with the Pro Bowl ballot. They try to send them all out at the same time. This is very different than voting for the Pro Bowl because on this ballot, each player is asked to rank a top 20, not a top 100, because, as you well know, no NFL player would sit down long enough to say, let's see, who's number 89? I think I'll put,
exactly.
You know, right?
Yes.
It could take hours to put together a top 100. So they're asked to do 1 through 20.
Correct.
Which is why, if you just stop at 20, that a bunch of really good quarterbacks didn't even make the top 100. You're all worked up about Carson Wentz. I'm more worked out about Ben Roethlisberger and Matt Ryan and Baker Mayfield and Matt Stafford. They didn't make the top 100. Kyler Murray, it was an outrage to me that he was only 90th on this list. But you can see if you just go to 20, I didn't put him on. Well, Roethlisberger didn't even play last year. Matt Stafford was gone most of the year. So they don't make the top 20 that a lot of people pick. In the early days, and this has been 10 years of this competition, in the early days, they were only getting 20 to 30% of the players to even send in their ballots. This year, according to Pro Football Talk, 57% of NFL players did actually send the ballot in, which I think is pretty good. So that's 970 ballots they got in, and it's total players. It's sort
about
of
16, 1700.
16 to 1700. So it's 57%. It's pretty good. So now we have an idea about how level or not level this playing field is. It's a little bit of a flawed way to concoct a top 100. So I'm not going to get terribly worked up about this, but before I get to all of your points, allow me to say once again, I have nothing against Aaron Donald personally. I just, listen, I know he's fired back at me on Twitter. I like you. You're a good guy. You're a great guy. By all appearances, everything I've heard, he is really a fine human being. He is a team leader, a team pillar for the Los Angeles Rams. I take nothing away. But you're not better than Patrick Mahomes. And he ranked third to Mahomes fourth. And several years he's won this competition. And I'm like, how can you don't do enough at your position by virtue of your position. And I don't want to pile on to poor Aaron Donald, but just a quick point. I've watched 4 times he's played my Dallas Cowboys. And in those 4 games, I turn off my TV thinking, wait, was he hurt today? I don't remember him. He has 0 sacks in 4 games against my Cowboys, including a playoff game. In his 4 playoff games that he's played, he has a half a sack. It's not like he's Reggie White. It's not like, obviously, he's Lawrence Taylor or Charles Haley, where he just jumps off your TV screen. You say, Lawrence Taylor just took the whole game over. They couldn't block him coming off the edge. That used to happen with me and Charles Haley when he was a Cowboy. I'd say, they can't block him. They put 3 people on him, and they can't stop him from getting a hand on the quarterback. Okay, so enough of that. He's still a great guy, and he's really good at what he does. He's just not better than Patrick Mahomes. Now, back to Patrick Mahomes. If the ballots went out around Thanksgiving, his year last year, to me, his regular season wasn't great. It was very good, but it wasn't great. It wasn't nearly as great as his MVP season. So if we're prisoners of that Thanksgiving time moment, maybe early December moment, maybe you're looking back at week 5 and 6. He lost back-to-back home games. Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City lost. They lost to Indianapolis, and he scored a grand total of 13. And then he got outplayed by Deshaun Watson the very next week. And his QBRs were no good, and they were average in those games. But by his standards, they're 51 and 54. And Deshaun had a 91 against him and beat him 31-24. Okay? You don't think that sticks in the minds of some of these voters?
Yeah, Skip, and like you said, and like I said, Steve and I, we read an article said it went out between November and April. But to your point, but here's the thing, Skip. If that's the case, what happened in November of 2018? The guy was on a historic season.
But the definition, the way it's printed across the top of the ballot is we're looking for the best 100 right now.
Yes.
Okay, so it's right now. Okay, you could factor in recent history.
No, I'm saying, remember, this is the second year he's finished fourth.
Oh, okay.
But the first,
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So think about it. He went 5,000. And Skip, we saw what he was doing. We like, hold on. We've never seen it was 300 because remember he started the season on the road and threw for what 5 or 6 touchdowns against Pittsburgh. And so that's what's confusing. If you said, okay, we're taking it right now this season. Okay, I give you that. Okay, because he got hurt, and like you said, he had those 2 down games. He was coming off an injury. But you can't excuse what happened in 2018 because he was a head and shoulders above everybody else.
Okay, so 4th and 4th.
Yes.
Okay, so then what happens in the playoffs? To your point, he had the historic comebacks. But what do you always throw at me when I say, well, Dak kept fighting? You know, he had huge 3rd and 4th quarters.
Right.
And you say, well, did he play the first 2 quarters?
Yes.
Well, did Mahomes play the first 2 quarters when he fell behind 24-0, right, at home in a playoff game?
Right.
And then